98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Hello, good morning. It's Lauren Kelly in for Adrian Kennedy this morning. Good to be with you. Before we get into things, just listen to that clip in the news about The Crown. I don't know if anyone has been watching The Crown, how you feel about it, but interesting to hear them giving out about how it's not factual. Did people think The Crown was factual to start with? I definitely found the first season the best. I thought it was so interesting. There was so much I didn't know, but obviously a lot of the personal storylines and things like that. Like, how are we supposed to know what Charles and Diana said to one another or what Camilla said to Diana on the phone? You know, but I do appreciate that, you know, you kind of have to take it with a pinch of salt. But I think, you know, a lot of people are giving out now saying it is completely dramatised, some of the conversations and things like that. So listen, that's a total aside to what we're about to get into. And we've loads of interesting topics for you on Dublin Talks this morning. But I would like, you know, if you are watching The Crown or, you know, if you have any interest in the royal family, get in touch throughout the show. Just let me know your thoughts on it. It'd be interesting to hear from you. 0877 98 98 98. Are you enjoying it? I have to say I was bed into this new season because obviously it deals with Charles and Diana getting married and all the rest of it. But is it too raw? Is it too recent to be, you know, showing what happened and considering that like a lot of the people involved are still alive, etc.? Whereas, you know, the first season, loads of them are dead. It didn't feel as raw. So let me know anyway. Just listen to that during the news. I perked my ears. 0877 98 98 98 is the text number. Get involved. Loads of topics to discuss with you today. Voice notes always welcome. Good to have them on the show. 6797 981 is our landline as well if you want to give me a call today and get in touch. But the first thing we're going to discuss on the show today, and it's something I'm sure a lot of people will have heard about, maybe heard in the news headlines, or maybe you're on Twitter and you will have seen flashes of this. The sharing of images of people without their consent is what we're going to talk about today. Thousands of images of women and girls were shared online on Wednesday without consent. And we are going to find out in a few minutes how this happened, what laws need to be brought in to stop this from happening. Revenge porn, I think, is something that we have talked about over the last few years, and people will be familiar with that. This is different. And we're going to find out why in just a few moments. But before we get into it, I suppose just to set the scene, Holly Carnes, who's a TD, spoke in the Dáil about this yesterday. And this will kind of set it up for you. So if you are just hearing this for the first time maybe, or like I said, you've seen it flash up on your Twitter feed or on your Facebook feed and you don't really know exactly what the deal is with these images being shared online, we're going to get some clarity on it now. But here's Holly Carnes talking in the Dáil yesterday.
There are online folders with thousands of images that have been taken and shared without consent. This primarily affects young women and some of them are underage. I'd like to send a clear message to anyone whose images have been shared without your consent. It is not your fault, you didn't do anything wrong, and you're not to blame. However, unfortunately, despite warnings about situations like this one, image-based sexual abuse is still not a crime here. So these violations of women have been facilitated by the state's inadequate policy and inaction. There is legislation before the Justice Committee on this that needs to be accelerated now. And I welcome what you said about doing it in the next year, but it's not soon enough. It has to happen now. Consent has to be at the heart of this. Where consent is not present, the law must step in. Currently, there are incredible activists and support groups working on the issue to help victims. Minister, you need to assure them today that this government has their back. I'm asking you to move immediately to protect victims of what we all know is a crime, but today is still not considered one. Minister, I'm glad it's you that I'm speaking to in relation to this. I admire the work you've been doing in relation to rape trials, and I'm asking you to please, please, please take action on this now. Thousands of Irish men are sharing images of women and girls without their consent. I'd like to ask all men, if you see or receive an image being circulated without consent, call it out. You can and should speak up in WhatsApp groups, in conversation, and in any given situation, call it out. When you don't, you're complicit and you're supporting a culture that facilitates gender-based abuse, and we need zero tolerance.
That's Holly Carnes speaking in the Dáil yesterday, and to be very clear, we won't be getting into any discussion about this. It is wrong, as you heard there, that we won't entertain any victim blaming on this topic today. But I would like to hear from people maybe who've been affected by something like this. If you've ever had your image shared online or in a WhatsApp group, how did it affect you? And like Holly said there, it's so important to call out this behaviour. So if you've ever received an image of someone and you know that their consent was not given for that image to be shared, did you call it out? Get involved in the conversation on Dublin Talks this morning. I'd love to hear from you. 0877 98 98 98. That's our WhatsApp. You can leave a voice note. But as I said, and I'm going to continue to be clear about this, there is no place for victim blaming in this conversation. Joining me on the line now is Linda Hayden. She is the founder of the Victims Alliance, and they are working hard to identify some of the women and girls whose images have been shared, and just to take us through, I suppose, how this has happened and what should happen now to make sure it doesn't again. Linda, you're very welcome to Dublin Talks this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Lauren. I really appreciate it.
I mentioned at the start there, Linda, that people might see the headlines around this, might hear that images have been shared, but I suppose just to provide some clarity for our listeners, how did this come to light? What happened?
So we have an image-based crime department, and the whole idea of the image-based crime department is to kind of try and lobby to get more supports for people. This is a huge issue, and we were dealing with about 10 to 12 victims a day before this even happened. So it is a very widespread issue. We knew there was no legislation in place. You'll have seen the petition. I think it's about 40,000 now at the moment. The petition's been running for a few months for us to put pressure on the government to enact the Harassment, Harmful Communications and Other Related Offence Bill, which has been in the Dáil since 2017. So, you know, this has been, people have been aware of this issue since way back before, when we had an activist called Dara Quigley who took her own life after her images were shared online. So this isn't a new issue. This is an issue that has been ongoing, and the government have been very slow to act on it. So we developed a department within the Victims Alliance, and we're only setting up. We're brand new. We haven't even launched yet. But we had this image-based crime department, and Megan Sims, who runs the department, has been doing an awful lot of work for victims and trying to help them and kind of trying to identify where these images are coming from and trying to get them taken down for them and stuff like that. So it's a very difficult process. You know, it can be expensive to try and get them removed and stuff like that. So she had a victim come to her and said that she didn't know where the image had leaked from. Megan was trying to find where it had leaked from. She went onto a forum and discovered that the guys that were in the forum were all uploading images to these files. So she clicked on one of the files, and there was about 6,000 images in it. So she was like, "Oh, we have a problem here."
6,000 images.
Okay, so it gets worse. We looked further into it and we found hundreds of these files, and some of them had like 140,000 images in them. So it's a very widespread problem, and it has been happening for a long time by the looks of things. So, and the reason why they're targeting Irish women is because they know we have no legislation in place. So we were working through the files. We were trying to contact the Gardaí. We spoke to Gardaí. They said that initially that they were happy enough for us to keep working through it. Then we came across some images that were definitely, there were some files that were marked as underage. So again, we contacted the Gardaí and they were like, right, stop. And so the where we're at the moment is we can't touch the files. The Gardaí are working on them. We're helping the Gardaí with the investigation. And we're just trying to, we're on hold at the moment. So we're just trying to help victims to get them in contact with the support services that are available at the moment. So we're hoping to reach out to a mental health charity later to set up a dedicated helpline for this. But at the moment, the Rape Crisis Centre and Women's Aid are both taking calls on it. So you can contact, if you're worried about it and you think you've been affected, you can contact the Rape Crisis Centre number is 1800 778888, or Women's Aid is 1800 341 900. And you will get help and support there if you've been affected or if you know that your images have been leaked. It's very traumatic for the victims, and we're seeing a huge amount of victim blaming, and I'm going to say right now, stop that. As you said, We will not tolerate it. Nobody asked for their files to be shared in this way. This is down to the perpetrators, and we're working on a way to make sure that those guys are fully held accountable, even though it's not, there's no dedicated law in place for it. You can take prosecutions if you're being harassed under Section 10 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act. And also there are civil routes that we can take, and we're examining how we can maybe look at those with victims in a way that will keep them safe, but be able to hold the guys who uploaded the files to account as well.
You've alluded to it, and I think, you know, I've so many questions, Linda, and I know you probably can't answer half of them. This is such a complicated process. Like, even, you know, the dealing with these forums, like, is it difficult to get these forums shut down? Like, are they responsible? How are they to deal with?
So the forums are, they're nearly impossible. Like, it's very, very difficult, and it would take Garda intervention to get that done. You can report some of the servers where they're uploading the files to. If you report the files, they'll shut them down, and we have managed to successfully get them shut down. There are others that are more difficult with that, but they're moving. So they became aware that we were watching the forums the other day, and they moved to Discord. We became aware.
What's Discord?
So Discord it's a brilliant server that people use for gaming or for watching sports. It's literally where you can do something while other people are watching you doing it, so like playing a game or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of people use it for, you know, really great things, and it's a growing community. So what happened was we became aware there was like 500 guys sharing these images on Discord on Wednesday afternoon. We contacted somebody who contacted somebody they knew in Discord, and they shut that down straight away. They took the IP addresses of the 500 people, they put them in a file and sent them over to the Gardaí, and they banned all 500 of those users. That's the kind of thing we want to see more of.
Brilliant.
That was so easy, and they are so committed to it. I've seen today, they gave the Independent a statement to say they will not tolerate this kind of thing. They will not tolerate any images that have not been given consent to being shared.
Now, can I ask, Linda, and I'm going to be careful how I ask this, but I hope you know where I'm coming from. Is it difficult to prove how do you find out whether an image was shared with consent or not? Is that a stupid question?
It would depend. So that would be down to the victim to identify whether they gave consent or not for that image to be shared.
Okay.
So a lot of them obviously haven't, because they've been pulled from people's Instagrams, or pulled from their OnlyFans, or pulled from, you know, various different places, or through WhatsApp, or, you know, maybe an ex has uploaded these files, which is where you're in the, I hate to say it, revenge porn.
Okay.
This is not revenge porn. This is image-based sexual abuse. Be very clear on that. That's exactly what it is. It is a way to degrade and demean women and men, and it does happen to men as well. It is a way to degrade and demean somebody, and if you're engaging in it, you're doing so not for your own gratification, but in order to demean these people. We understand what you're doing, and it needs to stop.
Linda, I have no doubt this is something that we will talk about again. As I said, I have so many questions, but one thing I really want to focus on today, and I played the audio of Holly Kearns discussing this yesterday, is calling out that behaviour. Because if you receive images, if you pass them on, you're complicit in this. And as you mentioned, all those IP addresses have been passed on to the guards. I'd be interested to hear, what people think should happen to those. And maybe some people think, and some lads think, oh, it's just a laugh, you know. And as you rightly said, this can affect men as well. I would like to hear from people who this has affected before. But I suppose what I would ask of you now, Linda, is to talk to people maybe who are listening to Dublin Talks this morning, who have received images, who have been in WhatsApp chats, have been on forums with their friends and have seen images like this where they know full well consent was not given before that image was shared. What would you say to those people?
I would say, when you see it, say, hey, that's not on, and I don't want to see that. And we have to start as a society saying enough is enough. I've been in situations, or I've heard of situations where people have been showing somebody something, and it's been very uncomfortable for everybody around, but nobody said anything. that needs to stop. If you don't say anything, you're nearly complicit. So you need to start calling it out. You need to start saying that's absolutely not acceptable. And the more you say it, the more people will realise that no, this isn't acceptable. The reason why these guys are going on these forums and they're doing this is because they're egging each other on, and you can see it in the forums. We've seen it. And, the kinds of language that's been used. I'll give you an example. Somebody went into one of the forums yesterday morning and said, hey guys, are you aware that somebody whose images were leaked here last month tried to take her own life? And somebody replied with, oh, is she hot? Not acceptable. That is not an acceptable way to talk about another human being. You cannot do that and get away with it. We won't tolerate it anymore. And victims have had enough. We've had enough of people trying to degrade us, trying to minimise us, and that's literally what it is. There's what's happening here is, if women are being confident in their bodies and being confident in their sexuality, you have people who are going to try and abuse that and to try and put them down, and that's what this is about.
Linda, thank you so much for your time on Dublin Talks this morning. Good to have you.
Thanks, Lauren.
That's Linda Hayden there, founder of the Victims Alliance. I would like to hear from you. If maybe you've been made aware that an image of you has ever done the rounds on a WhatsApp group or has been shared online without your consent, obviously we don't have to give your real name, anything like that. I understand, as Linda rightly said, it can be traumatic for people. But I would like to know, and I think people listening might need to hear, how that affected you, how that made you feel. And for those of us, and I'm going to include myself in it, who have received messages, who have seen images of women, of maybe men as well, images that were shared without that person's consent, did you call out that behaviour? Did you say, hey, that's not good enough? Get involved in the conversation. I want to speak to you today on Dublin Talks. You can WhatsApp, you can send me a voice note. I have one here actually from Sarah. I'm going to play you. I'm on 0877 98 98 98. Here's what Sarah has to say.
Hey guys, I know you're not going to entertain any victim blaming, which is great, but for anyone listening who is thinking, oh, you should never put an image of yourself up online or share it and be surprised if it gets shared. We live in a digital age. I don't see it as any different to physically assaulting someone or sexually assaulting someone, even if they're an ex that you used to be with. If an image is shared with you privately, that person has trusted you and obviously feels like they can trust you. So sharing it, I think, is just as bad as forcing someone into a sexual act with you.
Thanks for that, Sarah. I would like to hear your thoughts on this one. 6797 981 is our number. We have this voice note from Emma.
I'm a little bit confused because if somebody posts a photo on their OnlyFans or on their Instagram or their Facebook or whatever it may be, don't they want people to see this picture? So does this picture have to be something of nudity, or is it just a picture of somebody's face, or is it a picture of somebody standing with a good background behind them? I don't know what it is, but if somebody says, oh my God, that girl's top is gorgeous, and then she shares this with her friend, is she going to be taking part in this thing that people are saying? Like, I just don't understand. Are we not allowed to share anything now, even if it's nothing to do with saying not negative or bad about said person that you're sharing a picture of?
I think that's the difference, Emma, and I'd love to know if people agree with me or not. That's just my opinion. That yes, look, we all screen grab things all the time. You go, oh my God, I love that bag, or oh my God, look at this, that's gas, or different things. And it's a digital age, as you rightly said, as Sarah said in her message too. But I suppose Linda made the point, and we'll try and keep coming back to that, is that these images are being shared with a view to degrade, to demean these women and girls, and that's the difference. I think you screen grabbing something and putting into the girls' WhatsApp and saying like, oh my God, like, that person is fab, or that jumper, as you said, is gorgeous. It's completely different. There's nothing innocent about this online forum of these sharing of images, of these hundreds of thousands of images that Linda mentioned earlier on. And I think that's the difference. But I would like to hear your thoughts on this one today. Get involved in the conversation on Dublin Talks. If you've ever seen an image that you know has been shared without that person's consent, did you call it out? 0877 98 98 98. After the break, we're going to speak to a woman whose photos were posted without her consent.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
Good morning, it's Lauren Kelly in for Adrian Kennedy this morning, and I would love to speak to you. 0877 98 98 98 if you want to send me a voice note on WhatsApp. We are discussing images being shared online without the subject's consent, and I asked earlier on if this is something that has ever affected you, and Sarah has been kind enough to get in touch with us. Hi Sarah, welcome to Dublin Talks.
Hi.
You're okay?
It's a bit nervous talking, but I haven't talked about this in forever.
I think there's lots of people that this has happened to, Sarah, and maybe, you know, they were made feel that they had done something wrong or that it wasn't that serious. But, you know, speaking to Linda Hayden there from the Victims Alliance, it is serious. Images like this are shared with a view to degrade the person that they're of. So tell us what happened with you.
So I started going out with this bloke, and I was going out with him for a little while, and I really trusted him. A big mistake. And I trusted him to the stage where I was like, okay, I'll take a little sneaky picture. And I sent it to him, but one of his friends like really fancied him and was really jealous over me, so she took his phone and she took the picture, saved them. Then she made fake Facebook accounts with my name. She made fake Instagrams. She posted all the pictures. She ended up texting my family members. She started texting people in my year, and she sent all the pictures. They were everywhere. She started sending them to adult sites, and everything was posted absolutely everywhere. And I was terrified to leave my house for weeks. I was thinking, are they going to be thinking all these things about me? Are people going to be looking at me like in a weird way and everything? I was so scared to leave my house in case people would be jumping at me and asking me for these and this and all. I was terrified.
What did you do, Sarah? What happened?
So I tried to go asking people. I tried going to the police and everything. Like, oh, we can't do anything. We don't know our name. I tried going back to this fella that I was going out with, and he wouldn't give names. He was like, well, I never met this girl. I don't know who she is. And just pretended like it never happened. And about 3-4 weeks ago, he ended up texting me and saying, I still have your pictures. And this is like 2 years after it started happening. And I got a text and he goes, I still have your pictures. And I was like, is this going to happen again? Am I going to be posted again? After I'm kind of have to get my life back together again. Is this going to happen again?
What did he mean by that? I still have your pictures. Like, that's pretty ominous.
He got very obsessed with me. It was actually a really bad experience I had with him, because after I completely blocked him out of my life, completely blocked everything after he'd done this, he was like, it wasn't my fault and everything like this. And then he was texting me for weeks saying he was suicidal and everything because of me, because he was in love with me. And then he just kept at me and kept at me and kept at me. He kept saying he was suicidal, he was going to kill himself if I didn't come back to him. And I wasn't paying any attention. Then she was trying to text me saying that he was suicidal and he would only talk to me. I was like, well, that's not my fault. I'm not going anywhere near him again. And he's been still trying to get in contact with me since then, and I'm just ignoring and blocking every site, every page he makes, I just block.
It's the whole thing, Sarah. God, sounds like a very intense situation and very stressful for you. Going back to when his friend took that image from his phone of you, and I'm not ignoring the fact that it was another woman that did this, and I don't want people to think that this is something that I feel only men do.
No, men and women, because yes. One of my friends, that's male, happened to him as well, and a lot of things, like, it's happened to like a few of my friends, and you really don't realise how evil people can be. You really don't think, like, oh, we're friends, I can trust them, and then this happens, or you're like, okay, I'm in a relationship for a couple of months, I could do this, and then you see your face everywhere. Like, it was so weird how I found it.
Yeah, how did you find it?
My uncle texted my mum, what is this? And it was a picture of me, you can nearly say naked, and my uncle saw. He was like, what is this? And then I was thinking, I didn't send that. But then when I went into my messenger, she hacked into my Facebook page, and she sent it to every single person that was on my Facebook page. So she got into his phone and she got into your messenger? Yeah.
That's frightening, Sarah.
It was a bit scary, to be honest. And I'm now thinking, Am I always going to be like, is there always going to be someone trying to hack into my page to post me? I used to have people ringing me all the time, asking me if I wanted to do videos for them and if I wanted to be paid for stuff and if I wanted to be that. I was like, no, I don't want that at all. Like, I wouldn't think like that. I don't want to be like that.
And the guards couldn't do anything. You didn't get any help or any assistance. So those photographs are still out there as far as you know.
Yeah. They just said, well, that's not our problem.
How does that make you feel?
Terrible. I was like, this should be kind of a words of, like, and it's not. It's just kind of being ignored. Like, well, if you didn't do it, then it wouldn't have happened.
How does that attitude make you feel? Because look, I'm not going to lie, we are getting messages in saying that once you share an image online, it's out there. How does that attitude make you feel that you're the one that did something wrong?
At first, I really attacked myself in really bad ways. I was like, you're so stupid for doing that. But now I'm starting to kind of move past it and be like, I'm not going to let this affect my life. And I'm trying to move on. It's going to be still hard and it's still going to be in my mind, but I have to move on from what happens. But if more awareness is brought up, then hopefully some people won't have to go through such big traumatic experience. Like, some people would take their lives if they find out this happens to them.
People have.
Yeah, it's scary. You really don't see how bad it is until it happens to you.
Well, Sarah, I'm going to keep repeating what Harley Kearns said yesterday in the Dáil. You've done nothing wrong.
I know that now, but I wish I knew it a while back.
Thank you for coming on 98 FM this morning. Good to speak to you.
No problem, thank you.
Thanks so much. I would like to hear from you today. And as I said, look, we are getting those images or those messages in. And we were quite clear from the get-go on this topic. We're not going to entertain victim blaming. If you share an image with a view to degrading someone else, you're the one in the wrong. And if you don't call it out, you're complicit. Robbie is next on the line. Hi, Robbie. You're on 98 FM.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you very much. What are your thoughts on this subject, Robbie?
I think something needs to be done really, really sharpish about it. Like, as you said, you're having text messages and phone calls coming in saying, oh, once you share an image online, it's your fault or whatever. It's nobody's fault. We all know that, I don't know if everyone has, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people have had a partner in the past that they thought they trusted, that they thought they could share images with or tell everything to, and then it backfired. That's not an excuse for someone to send it around to half your neighbourhood that you live in. Do you know what I mean? This is putting women and men through hell. As you said, we've seen suicide because of it.
Yeah, and I think you said rightly there, like, this does affect men, and we've been getting messages in saying, you know, I'm a guy, my image was shared. This isn't exclusive to women, but it does happen more often to women.
Yeah, and look, like, I'm not going to preach the choir saying I know everything, but if I was to give one bit of advice to young men and women out there, don't do it. Whether you think you trust this person 100%, do not send an image of yourself around. That's, let's say, for the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? There is going to come a time, if you love this person, you trust this person, that person's going to get to see what they want to see. You don't have to send a photograph around to feel like that this person wants you, because we know that that's what happens.
Yeah, but Robbie, right, let me put this to you. I would have agreed with that. A few years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, don't ever send an image to anyone. You never know, no matter how much you trust someone. But look at the age we live in. It's a digital age. Look at, you know, the situation we're dealing at the moment with the pandemic. Like, people, dating is a lot of online. People do share images online. People video themselves. It's okay to do that. It's quite a normal part of dating and relationships is to share images. It's, you know, and it can be a really healthy thing to do.
But I have two daughters, and when I'm coming from a father's background, I hope to God my daughters never do it. Whether they trust the person they're with 1,000,000% or not, I hope to God they never do it.
Yeah, and look, maybe different, and maybe, like, if my dad was listening to this, he'd say the same thing. But, like, as a woman in my 30s, I feel I should be able to send an image to my partner if I want to. But there's probably a lot of pressure on teenagers to share images, I suppose.
Well, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult or whatever, like, you should be able to do what you feel is safe to do. But it's not. No matter what age you are, you're not. And as you said, you could send it to your partner that you trust. Doesn't mean he's going to send it. Someone could pick up his phone and send it thinking they're funny.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the calling it out. Hang on there for me for 1 sec, Robbie, because we've been talking about calling out the behaviour. I want to play you this voice note from Paddy, who says it's not his job to do that.
Listen, you can't start blaming people for those images that are being shared. If I come across an image like that, I'm not going to go calling it out. It's none of my business. I'm not going to go and get involved. I have enough stuff to be dealing with in my own life anyway. So don't start blaming people for minding their own business for something that somebody else done. That's not fair.
That's not fair, Robbie. What do you think of Paddy's point?
Ask Paddy what if he comes across an image that turns out to be one of his family members, or if worse comes to worse, his daughter, how do he feel then? I'm pretty sure he'd want to know who sent it.
Yeah, I think that's completely valid. Like Sarah's uncle was the one to see the image of her that was going around.
Look, we've all had them sent out WhatsApp groups, you know what I mean? Like, people think they're funny sending pictures and videos and everything left, right and centre. But the fun stops when it turns out that it's one of your family members, or your daughter, or your son. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure if it happened, then Paddy'd have a different opinion on it.
All right, Robbie, thanks for coming on Dublin Talks this morning. Good to speak to you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And, on Paddy's point, maybe do you feel the same? You're like, look, I'm not going to, in a group message, call out my mates or make them feel bad. Maybe you have sat in your mate's company and an image, a phone is being passed around, oh, look at this, or did you see this, or in a WhatsApp group. Did you feel uncomfortable and you didn't say anything? Let me know. But Paddy says it's not his business to call out that behaviour. Bill disagrees. Have a listen to this.
Hey, just listening to the story this morning, that's awful. In particular, when she mentioned that the girl had been suicide and someone asked if it was just awful to hear. I think a lot of the onus has to be on fellas. I'm not blaming fellas in the major, but I suppose it's on us that if we get an image, you're not going to rat anyone out, probably not, but you can at least be like, hey, look, man, that's not cool. Don't send that to me. And when people when you say that to someone, they might think twice about what they're actually doing, because that's awful. Sorry to hear it for those people. That's terrible.
Thanks for that, Bill. And I think that's it. It's just sometimes, and we're all guilty of it, is we don't think. If something doesn't affect you directly, it is quite easy just to pass something on or to have a giggle about something. But, and Robbie made the point that could be your little cousin or your little sister or your daughter, or your son. Jason reckons he's going to change his behaviour.
Hi, I have to say, I have actually forwarded stuff like that. I've got it sent to me and forwarded it without even realising, but just listening there, the next time I get anything like that, I'll probably call it out or just delete it.
It's good to hear that, Jason, and I think we just need to change the way we think. And it's so easy with phones now and everything, just to mindlessly forward things on. 0877 98 98 98 is the WhatsApp number. You can send me a voice note, send me a message. Would love to hear from you. It's Sarah on the line earlier on who was good enough to come on and tell her story of how it had affected her, and Tom has been in touch about Sarah.
Sarah, I have the utmost respect for you. Keep up the good work. Stay strong. Ignore the jealous begrudgers. They're jealous of you because you're a confident person.
Thanks for that, Tom. And yeah, Sarah's story, a lot of that was to do with jealousy and images being taken from her ex's phone, an awful situation. And it sounds like there was an awful lot more to it as well, but just on the whole sharing of the images without her consent was what we were focusing on today. And we've had this one from Fiona on 0877 98 98 98.
Morning. Hi. I'm not a young person, but I learned a long time ago that when you put something up on your Facebook, on Instagram or anything, you're actually sharing it with the world. And you know what? As I said, I'm not a young person, but I learned a very valuable lesson there. So I post nothing. I used to do it of nights out, everything, with my children and all gone. Don't do it anymore.
Fiona, I think there's a lot of people that would be of the same opinion nowadays, that they don't share as much online as they used to, because once it's out there, it's out there. But unfortunately, and fortunately in lots of ways, we live in a digital age. And as I said to Robbie, a lot of people date online now. They can't meet people in person at the moment. And, being online is fun. And people sharing images in a safe environment is fun. And it's, it can be great crack in a relationship. relationship to do that, and it should be okay to do that. And I understand that relationships break down, and I understand that people can be hurt. It doesn't make it okay, as Robbie rightly pointed out, and Sarah made that point earlier on, it doesn't make it okay to go back then and either threaten someone with images or share images without their consent. There's no excuse for that behaviour. Lots of messages continuing to roll in. I would love to hear from you if you've ever been affected by this, or if you've called out behaviour like this in a group. Get involved in the conversation. 6797 981. This is Dublin Talks.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
Now you're welcome back to Dublin Talks. Lauren Kelly in for Adrian Kennedy today. I love hearing all the Christmas ads. Not going to lie, I know it's the 20th of November, but I'm starting to enjoy it all. And just hearing all the Christmas ads, and we were talking this morning in the office about getting out and doing the shopping in bits and pieces. So over the next few minutes, I want to talk to you a bit about shopping and your plans for doing your shopping this Christmas. Obviously, things are so different this year, and I don't know about you, but I'm one of those really, really disorganised people that always leaves it to the last minute. So this year I've had no choice but to be organised and go online, do a bit of click and collect, things like that. So if you've had to rethink Christmas and you're shopping and just come up with a new game plan, I want to hear about that in a few minutes. 0877 98 98 98. Will you brave going into town? Would you feel comfortable going into town, even just for a stroll around? Maybe you'll do all your shopping online, but you'd still go into the city. Let me know. But talking of delivery and click and collect, SuperValu online shopping, Christmas delivery and collection slots are now open and on supervalu.ie. So all this week we've been telling you all about the thousands of euro to be won right here across the week to spend online with SuperValu. So it's brilliant, and you can just shop from the comfort of your own home, and then you can choose contactless delivery or click and collect. I've done both are awesome, but this is fun. And what we've been doing all this week is click and collecting here. So we do the clicking, you do the collecting, lots and lots to give away. So a little earlier on this morning, you would have heard Rebecca and Brendan on the Big Breakfast order an item from SuperValu. We want you to collect it here on Dublin Talks this morning to win a €250 SuperValu voucher. So if you were listening to Rebecca and Brendan on the Big Breakfast, you'll know that they ordered an item from SuperValu a little earlier on. What was that item? Let me know now. 6797 981 is our number, or you can text 0877 98 98 98 right away. Get onto WhatsApp right away. 0877 98 98 98. Tell me what Rebecca and Brendan ordered from SuperValu earlier this morning, and I'll have €250 waiting for you. But while we're waiting for you to get in touch, have a think about your shopping this Christmas and how things are going to work now. Like I said, I'm a really, really disorganised Christmas shopper, and I have all the best plans and intentions, and I always end up doing a kind of a bit of a panic shop in the week leading up to Christmas. So this year I've kind of had to sit down, do the list, figure out who I'm ordering for online, who I can maybe shop locally for, who I can do a bit of click and collecting with, and so on. And I actually have to execute it this year because there's no messing around. And I think especially if you have smallies in your house, we have to be super organised this year. So let me know your plans for Christmas this year and how you're going to execute the Christmas shopping. You can stop texting for SuperValu now though, because I have a caller on the line. Hello, Keith.
Hi, how are you, Lauren?
Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks.
Good, good. Have you thought about your Christmas shopping and how it's all going to go down this year? Are you an organised Christmas person?
Kind of getting there. Most of it is online anyway this year, so.
Okay, and as I mentioned, SuperValu are making things super easy for people. You can do delivery or book your collection slot, so super handy for you. I've got a €250 SuperValu voucher to give away. What did Rebecca and Brendan order on the Big Breakfast this morning, Keith?
It was a tin of biscuits.
It was a tin of biscuits. Good on you, Keith. €250 for SuperValu is on its way to you, and you can do whatever you like with that. You can click and collect, or you can have it delivered and choose contactless delivery at home, all with thanks to supervalu.ie. So good on you, and thanks for coming on.
Brilliant, that's great. Thanks a million, Lauren.
Thanks, Keith. Take care.
Thanks.
And is it too
Bye-bye.
early to say Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas. There you go.
Too.
Bye-bye. But the winning doesn't stop there. As you know, we've been doing this right across the week. So now I'm going to order something. You can collect it with Barry Dunn a little later on, okay? So let me have a look here. Super Value, click and collect. Right. The Dublin Talks order for today on Friday is tinfoil. Okay? Tinfoil for the turkey to be collected with Barry Dunn a little later on. That's another €250 voucher with Barry Dunn later on. So you need to... Oh, sorry, getting a bit excited. Tinfoil for the turkey. That's what you need to collect with Barry Dunn later on. Don't text us now. Jeremy's saying stop texting now. Stop texting now. We've already given away our €250 voucher. Barry Dunn will have another €250 voucher a little later on. But you'll be telling him that you've ordered tinfoil for the turkey later on. That's loads of fun, isn't it? On to more kind of shopping chat though. I do want to kind of keep it in the vein of Christmas shopping, whether it's food shopping or your present shopping, because look, it can be really stressful. It can be a really, really stressful time, as I mentioned, and we'll be careful on morning radio. But you know, with smallies in the house, you've got to think, you've got to plan. And as I said, I'm all for the plans. I just never execute them that well this time of year. So online shopping has obviously just gone through the roof. More and more people are doing it than ever. But still, people like going out and picking up a few bits and pieces. And I was saying, you know, would you feel comfortable coming into Dublin or to, you know, your local town centre, wherever it is, to do your Christmas shop? How do you feel about that? Do you kind of have, right, XYZ, like Keith said there, you're getting your Christmas shop, but maybe you might have a few little bits and pieces that you'll pick up closer to Christmas. Let me know what your plans are. 0877 98 98 98 for your Christmas plans. No more text from the Super Value giveaway, please. Just for your plans for shopping. Do you think it's going to change the feeling of Christmas for you? You know, like going into town or going in, you know, to your local town centre. Maybe it's not into Dublin city centre, but into a town centre to pick up the bits and the Christmas music and the queues and the wrapping and things like that. If that's not going to be there this year, will it kind of kill the buzz of the Christmas shopping? Or maybe you've always done your shopping online and you really enjoy it. Let me know. 0877 98 98 98. I'd love to hear from someone who has never shopped online. How are you feeling about that? Is it quite daunting? Like, I would imagine maybe there's people listening whose parents have never shopped online before and you've had to give a bit of a dig out with that this year. You know, and like I said, you know, the whole buzz of going into town and doing your shopping is what Christmas is all about for a lot of people. So do you have plans to go out and physically do some shopping when retail reopens? And I know that Adrian touched on the toy shops and shops opening up yesterday on Dublin Talks. What are your feelings on 24-hour shopping hours coming up to Christmas? Do you think that's madness, or does it make a bit of sense? It might make things a little safer for everyone. 0877 98 98 98. You can leave me a WhatsApp voice note. And like I said, I would love to hear from parents. How easy has it been for you? Obviously, stock is low in a lot of places. Online orders are taking some time. It's a stressful time of year anyway for parents, I think. And this maybe has meant that you've had to get super duper organised. So if you have any tips to share, I always feel like there's one person in every group, isn't there, who just has it nailed. Like they have everything sorted in July. And I think if you are one of those people and you have some tips for friends and particularly parents of small children this time of year, please share with the group. It would be very, very welcome. So 0877 98 98 98. And what did I say as well? Also, people who've never done any online shopping. I think there's a lot of people who do their shopping online, or they browse online and then they physically go into store. I've been guilty of that. Let me know. Lorraine, you're a bit like me. You normally leave things to the last minute.
Oh, definitely. Everything to the last minute. I will research everything to the death and, you know, be comparing prices. And then I'm nearly panicking, going, oh my God, I've left it too late. So this year I'm super organised because I have teenage children. So they've kind of, you know, given me or let me know maybe what Santi might like them to give them. So, but I've actually been really organised, so I have everything kind of in motion now, because I do hope to go out, you know, in December and go out to the shops. But I've actually nearly overshopped because, you know, I've, like my niece, I picked out 2 hair straighteners and I will return one
when I see them, because, you know, I just like to physically see things.
Yes,
I just find
with
the
clothes
effort of,
as well. Like, I was buying clothes online the other day, and I'm not going to name the store, but it was for my child, and all the same size, but they came and half the stuff fit him and half the stuff didn't.
Yeah, that's it as well. And I've always tried on clothes, because, you know, it's like one shop is size 10 is one size, size 10, you know, in a different shop, and I actually find that really difficult. So I haven't probably bought as much as I would. Even my husband was saying, you know, we went to one of the big clothes shops for one thing, and you come out like spending €100. So, you know, so like none of that has been done. But yeah, I would, and even town, I would like to go in and even just support the shops, because I think they really need it. But the thing, I'd always get the bus in and I'd enjoy it, but this year you can't really get the bus in, you know, because I don't know what capacity it'll be in December. So I will drive in, but then if the weather's really bad, and obviously the shop, you know, none of the shops are going to be full like they were. So
I don't know. Like, we were talking about this in the office this morning. I think people will still come in and chance it. I'd be interested to hear if people are comfortable doing that. Lorraine, lovely to speak to you, and good on you being organised this year.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks a million. I'm going to have to break for the headlines now, Laura, in just a sec. But I want to hear from you. Will you come into town? Will you still want to get that Christmas feel, or will you be too uncomfortable to do it this year? And like Lorraine, did you need to get a bit better organised with the research and everything and the executing of the Christmas present buying plans this year? 0877 98 98 98 is our WhatsApp. You can drop me a voice note. But as I said, got to take a quick break for the headlines. 98. Still lots to come on Dublin Talks, but first, here's Laura with the headlines.
Thanks, Lauren. Good morning. A member of NEFIT says there's still the chance to create a wide range of options for exiting the COVID-19 lockdown. Level 5 measures are due to last until the start of next month, but officials have warned a week has been lost. The average number of cases over the last 5 days is almost 400, and the average number of close contacts has risen. Dublin bus drivers in Dublin are threatening to withdraw services over antisocial behaviour. Go-ahead workers say they fear for their lives on some routes in Ballyfermot and West Tala. The drivers have insisted management introduced protocols similar to Dublin Bus to keep them safe. The Crown's been described as fake history by a Guardian columnist. It comes after it emerged a scene from the 4th season where Princess Margaret ridicules Princess Diana for not knowing royal etiquette never happened in real life. Guardian columnist Simon Jenkins says portraying the show as fact is as corrosive as fake news. And now you're up to date on 98.
Thanks, Laura.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Now, turns out I'm not the only person who is really, really disorganised about Christmas shopping, even though we are in a pandemic and we need to be more organised about these kind of things. Spoke to Lorraine just before the news there about, you know, just trying to do all the research and figure things out and everything. And especially if there's small ones in your house as well, you've got to figure out what they want to let Santa know. You've got to do some of the research for the elves, pass that on, things like that. So look, there's a lot to think about this year. What are your plans? How are you going to get sorted for Christmas this year? Will you do it all online and then head into town just to browse the shops, or are you still planning on doing your shopping actually out in Dublin in the physical shops this year and give them the support? 0877 98 98 98. You can send me a WhatsApp or a voice note. We've Sinead on the line. Hi Sinead, you're on 98 FM.
How's it going?
Hello.
Hello, hang on.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
I
Sorry,
can,
I'm in the van. How's it going?
Good, thank you. Are you all sorted? Are you organised so far, Sinead?
I'm pretty organised, yes. I work in retail myself, so I don't get to see the inside of my house for most of December.
Okay.
So I need to be kind of ahead of myself.
What's it like working in retail, particularly at Christmas time?
It's very difficult. I work in a flower shop, and from next week on, we will just be out the door non-stop. I will work probably 12 hours a day, 6 days a week until Christmas Eve. And the 1 or 2 days a week off that I will get, the last thing that I'm going to want to do is go into any shop. And I work in the city centre. I work on Patrick Street, and I wouldn't even go over to Grafton Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously this year, everyone is going to be delighted to be getting back to work, hit the ground running now when the restrictions change, hopefully, and, we can get back to business. It'll be great. But I don't think people who don't work in retail appreciate just how stressful it can be for you.
I don't think so at all. I mean, my partner also works in a supermarket and has been working all the way through lockdown. I'm working through lockdown because we're doing deliveries and pickups. So there's been no let up, and December is stressful anyway because people want everything. They want it now. They're under pressure. They've got lists to look after. They're on their day off themselves. And it is very, very, very stressful. I think online shopping helps a lot. But this year, of course, there's delays with that as well.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that. So, look, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think people need to spare a thought for retail workers, particularly this year. So thanks for that, Sinead. In terms of your own shopping now, as you said, the last thing you want to be doing is hitting the shops yourself on your days off. So you've done everything online this year?
Yeah, everything. I have 2 boys, they're 8 and 12, and they just want computer games and board games and books, and I got everything on the internet.
And like I was saying earlier on as well, for parents of small children who have lists for Santa, you've got to do some research to send that on with the list for Santa and things like that. So like that's a lot of work, and things might need to be ordered in advance and etc. So it's a lot of stress, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. To be fair, I'm lucky that they only ever want the same things. They only ever ask for 1 or 2 things. I don't know how I managed to do that, but they've always been that way. So when September, I said, all right, kids, I need a list. And I've always done it that way. And they gave me the list. I ordered it online. It's all here. It's all organised. And the only things I'm going to have to sort out is presents for family and friends and the grocery shopping.
Oh, the grocery shopping. Only the grocery shopping.
Well, my girlfriend works in a supermarket, so I just give her the list.
Oh, happy days.
Every night she just brings home a few things in the run up to Christmas, so I'm kind of spoiled that way. Again, I wouldn't go near a supermarket in December if you paid me.
Oh, right. I kind of love the food shop. It's kind of a tradition in our family. The food shop is a big deal.
Yeah, I used to, but after you've been on your feet for 12 or 13 hours, you don't want to go into another shop, I promise you.
Fair enough. Sinead, lovely to speak to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. If you have had to make extra plans for Christmas presents this year, whether it's for your partner, your parents, nieces and nephews, and like I keep saying, like the stress of Santa lists and getting them sent off to the North Pole and all the research that has to be done. And, I think there's a lot of maybe of our little listeners that might hear this that mightn't realise that sometimes parents have to write back and forth to the elves a few times just to clarify certain details of things, so there is a lot of work that goes into it for parents. If you're having to do a bit of extra work this year, how are you getting around it? Are you doing everything online, or are you still hoping to physically go into some shops this year? 0877 98 98 98. Louise is on the line. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Louise, you're not the only person to get in touch about this today. The PS5. Now, I heard a lot of talk about this yesterday because and forgive me, because I'm not a gamer and I've no one in my life into gaming, but the new PlayStation is out and it's a big whiz.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. And we're trying to help the elves deliver PS5 for my nephew.
Okay.
He's 7. He's autistic. He's severely autistic. He normally does swimming, horse riding, but all that is gone because of COVID. So he's now become completely engrossed in being a gamer on PlayStation. And it is the only thing on his list. It is the only thing.
Okay. And he's written his list for Santa, as you said. You've been in touch with the elves, but you might need a little extra help locating a PS5 for him.
I'm looking for a little extra help, yes. We've taught my mum how to online shop, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I wanted to know, actually, how parents and grandparents are getting on with online shopping at the moment.
Well,
could be a disaster.
The DPD guy is coming to Mum's address every day. My dad's
brilliant.
having palpitations working in the playroom, looking at the DVD guy arriving with all our packages.
Oh, amazing.
It could be an interesting Christmas. So we taught her yesterday how to go on Amazon. She even rang Amazon to try to talk to somebody to see if they could help us. We were on Curry's, we were on Smith's, we did everything. But apparently only like 100 consoles went on sale yesterday in Amazon, and apparently hundreds of thousands of people tried to get it. So I've heard that Smith might be getting it back in December. I'm just looking for a little bit of help to help the elves to try and get it for him, because my heart breaks thinking that he's not going to get it on Christmas morning.
Louise, I remember a few years ago, a dress of mine went missing, and I had to go out to one of the depots of one of the delivery service and try and locate it. And the queue of people waiting for things out there, it was so stressful in mid-December, and it's actually making me anxious thinking about this year, how stressful it might be for people waiting for deliveries. So if anyone listening, Louise's little nephew is 7, is quite used to help with his autism and special needs, doing swimming and horse riding and things like that. Obviously with COVID, he has fallen in love with his PlayStation, would love a PlayStation 5. If anyone can offer any assistance or any help, maybe get in touch with us and we can put them in touch with you, Louise, okay?
You're so good. I so appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Louise. We've checked, Jeremy is in the background checking out websites and keeping me in the loop. But if anyone listening, or maybe people are listening who work in a toy shop or could put you in contact, would be great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you so
Lovely
much.
to speak to you. That's Louise there. And look, I think, there's going to be a lot of situations like this Christmas. So let me know how you are maybe getting around it, or, if you look, we can put out shout outs like for Louise if anyone needs a little bit of extra help, or there's something specific that you're looking for. I mean, I'm not saying people have PS5 lying around, but what you're looking for someone else might not need anymore. So 0877 98 98 98 is our WhatsApp. This listener says, I'm generally not the most organised person. I leave everything to the last minute, but this year I'm super organised. I have my little red book. I've written down what my teenage children want and ideas for the family. I've done a lot of ordering online. I'm even over shopping, buying maybe 1 or 2 products, and then I'll return them to when the shop's open. So you're kind of getting extra stuff. I mean, so look, like if you can do that, that's great, but not everyone, can. Noel is not too optimistic about the PS5. Says more chance of aliens landing on Christmas Day than getting a PS5 this Christmas. Noel, don't be so negative. You never know. Believe in a little Christmas magic, even if it is only the 20th of November. Lots of you getting in touch about your plans for shopping this Christmas and how to get ahead, or maybe how to secure presents. If you are usually like me or like Lorraine, who we spoke to, or a few of our other texters, normally a bit of a last minute person, what have you done this year to be a bit better organised? 6797 981 is our number, or you can send me a voice note 0877 98 98 98. Here's a message from Ellen.
Hi guys, normally every year I'll do my shopping online with Amazon because it's quick and it's easy and everything's delivered right to your door, but this year with everything else going on, I've decided to support local business. Just example, like Mum will probably be getting a few bits out of the beauticians, nail varnish, whatever, and maybe a voucher. I'm going to get my dad his haircut, things like that, just I wouldn't like to see any of these places closed because of all this, so I'm just trying to support local businesses.
Yeah, I think we just have to think about things. To be honest, what I've done this year is I have just gone a little less complicated with some presents. I kind of don't want to say what some of them are in case people are listening in my family, but I've just had to think outside the box a bit and been like, okay, that's something that can be easily accessed, and that's something that can be bought online, kind of stuff like that. I think sometimes I overcomplicate things at Christmas, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who does that. Let me know your plans. 0877 98 98 98. Michelle, you've done most of your shopping online.
Yeah, all of ours got done online this year. Normally I am like the biggest last minute head you'll ever find. But now we got 90% of it done online. Again, one of the kids wanted the PS5 for his birthday in February, so he's been told he can have it for his birthday.
Okay,
Like, I've done literally everything. And again, like the last caller said, like, support small businesses and stuff like that, just to get all their bits, like, and yeah, trying to teach my mum how to click and collect, that was been quite funny.
I do. My heart goes out to people trying to navigate online shopping with parents or grandparents at the moment, because you need the patience of a saint.
Yeah, my mum hasn't a clue. She rang me the other day. She was ordering 2 things for the girls, and was like, they're saying they're only available in Letterkenny. I'm like, they're not available. Like, no. I was like, give me the thing, sorted it out, and I was like, no, they've loads of them in Jerry Street. I've done it there now, just go and collect them. But she couldn't even just change the shop.
Okay.
Like where the location of the shop was. She couldn't even change that. I've gone, oh God. But yeah, it is. It's a nightmare trying to do it. Normally, like, I would be not starting even, you know, the correspondence with the elves until December. Whereas this year we've been back and forward the last couple of weeks.
You have to be.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think people realise how, the elves started work a lot earlier this year.
Yeah, they really did. Like, and lucky enough, you know, 2 of mine wanted the exact same present, so they were able to sort that fairly fast.
That's handy.
Which is quite good, yeah. It's just the eldest fella has been told that there's not a house on a PlayStation that's coming into the house with the elves this year, but he's nearly 18, so he's old enough to know better.
Very quickly, because your line is not the best, sorry Michelle, but I'm just cracking up thinking of your mum. I really worry about people's parents who will click on an item a number of times and put it into their shopping cart, because you know the way sometimes things will end up in your shopping cart more than once. That's stressing me out now, thinking of your mum.
Yeah, my mum will be the very one to do that. Like, she'll end up with 5 of the same Barbies or something, like, there's no sure. Or like games for the kids, the boys, or she will. She'll end up with something where it's 3 or 4 things, like, God bless her.
Oh, class.
And she's trying to do it for my granddad as well, and he's like nearly 90. So that stresses me out, trying for him to try and go shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Because, God love him, he wants to just get into Smith's and go to the shelf and pick up what he wants. But he's not able to. Like, he'll be 90 in May, and you're going, no, please stay out of shop.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
God love them.
That, like,
brilliant.
So
Michelle, great to speak to you. Thanks for coming on.
No bother.
Thanks a million. Bye. Oh, Michelle's mum. And turns out there's a few people getting in touch who've been helping parents out shopping online. Listen to Laura.
I went up the other evening to help my mum and dad with online shopping, and we put the stuff in the basket, and that was great. And then I said, okay, I need your bank card to or Visa to put in to pay for them. My dad had a complete meltdown of, I can't put my bank details into that because they could hack my card and this, that and the other. So that bit of online shopping went out the window because he was refusing to put his bank card details into ordering online. So that's the struggle I'm at the moment.
But this is the thing, like, I think for people of a certain age, that's to us and younger, it's nothing to put your bank details in. Like, my bank details are saved on so many websites at this stage, I don't even want to think about it. But, that's just, they would never, ever do that. So that's another stress of them shopping online. We've been talking about your plans for Christmas shopping and trying to get hold of certain things, particularly the PS5 has come up a few times. Here's a voice note from Tommy.
Agreeing with the previous WhatsApper. Myself and the missus are supporting local business too. There's a few smaller shops around our area, and rather than giving lots of money to Smiths, who are going to do quite well this year, the arts and crafts shop and any other smaller shops, we're going to invest in for just about everything, I think.
Oh, that's a lovely idea, Tommy. And I think that it is important to bear that in mind. Is, look, there might be certain things that you can only get online, and God, like Amazon have gotten so many mentions on the show today, but there are so many smaller businesses that there's things that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So maybe think outside the box a little. Thanks for reminding us of that, Tommy. And finally, this one from Mandy.
Hi, Mandy here. I normally keep getting text messages off my dad and my mum telling me, could you buy this? Can you order this? Can you order this? Because they haven't got a breeze how to use the websites. Good show. Great to talk to you. Bye.
Oh, thanks, Mandy. Lovely to hear from you. Thank you for all those messages on shopping. And look, if later on in the show, if you have any information on the possibility of getting our hands on a PS5 for Laura, who is just trying to help the elves out for her nephew who is 7 with autism, we would be very, very grateful for that. 0877 98 98 98 is our WhatsApp number. You can get involved and you can drop us a message if maybe you work somewhere, you know there might be some available in the next few weeks. That would be great. But coming up after the break, we're going to be speaking about gambling and online gambling, because this week is Safer Gambling Week. So if you or someone in your life has been affected by gambling, maybe loves a bet and maybe it has gotten slightly out of hand, I would like to speak to you on Dublin Talks this morning just about how it got out of hand, how it has affected you and people in your life, because gambling can be very addictive. And with Safer Gambling Week this week, the aim is to put things in place to make it a little safer, to flag people's accounts, particularly online, so that if things are getting out of hand, help is made available. So, how addictive can gambling be? If it's something that's affected you, get involved in the conversation on Dublin Talks this morning. I'm on 0877 98 98 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
Now on Dublin Talks is the chairperson of the Irish Bookmakers Association, Sharon Byrne. Sharon, good morning. You're very welcome to Dublin Talks.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sharon, you're on to talk to me about Safer Gambling Week. Tell me, what is this week all about? What's the aim of it?
Yes, well, this is the 4th time that we've ran Responsible Gambling Week, and it gives the industry an opportunity to come together with one voice to promote safer gambling and the tools that are available to help people gamble safely, and for those that it becomes a problem, for the sources of help that they can reach out to or that their family can reach out to. So it's to use the connections of all the operators across all the various sectors of the gambling industry to drive the message home that, if you are gambling, gamble safely. If it is becoming a problem for you, which it does for a small percentage of people, there is help available, and we list all the tools and the facilities and the services available on our website for people that might need help.
Now, Sharon, I think often when people think of gambling, we have this perhaps old-fashioned image of someone sitting in a bookmaker's or in a pub watching horse racing on the telly. But the times have changed. We can gamble at home now on our phones, so there's a lot more available to people. And of course there's sports other than horse racing. You can bet on anything nowadays. Is it much of a challenge for you at the Irish Bookmakers Association, to try and make that safe across the board?
Yes, technology has changed the way we all live, especially mobile technology, and even people that still come into a betting shop to have a bet, they might have a bet on their phone as well. So the tools and measures taken by operators in the last few years have tried to keep up with technological advances and mobile advances. So for people that bet online, operators now have a whole suite of measures on every account to try to help that person keep their spending in control and keep their activity fun, such as you can set your deposit limit, so you can set how much you want to deposit in a day, a week, a year. You can set on your account how much time you can spend, so you can say I want to spend an hour a week or an hour a day, and the site will not let you log back in and have any activity outside of the limits that you set. And you can also, the operators can keep their eye on customers' activity from the back end. They can keep an eye on anybody that's changing their settings maybe often, or anybody that's maybe depositing above what they would normally deposit. So whilst the internet does give 24/7 availability, it also gives the ability for an operator to have tools in place that automatically prevent customers from transacting above the limits that they have set themselves. Now, of course, some people don't set them, or some people might set limits that are too high, and that's where the staff for betting operators are trained to spot little signals and triggers that might suggest somebody is developing a problem or has a problem, and then they step in and take action when that's visible.
And tell me a bit about that, Sharon, and the responsibility of the person. So, putting online aside for a second, if you're in a bookmaker's and you see the same person coming in regularly, like, are staff trained to try and intervene or to say something? Because that could be very, very awkward, I would imagine.
Yes, it is extremely awkward, and we developed training courses about 8 years ago in partnership with the Dunlewy Addiction Centre. They set up the training courses for us. They did some in person. Now, unfortunately, with COVID this year, anything being done in person is quite difficult, but back then we also set up an online portal. So anybody working in a betting shop is, for most operators, it's compulsory, but not all shops are members of my association, so I can't force all operators to do it, but we strongly encourage it, that all staff from, I think it's about week 2 of their training, is trained in responsible gambling, how to spot signs and who to go to if you do spot somebody that is clearly displaying some of the signs that you're trained to look out for, because not all members of staff would have the confidence or the ability or the nerve to approach somebody about such a delicate subject. So it's generally a shop manager or an area manager that would approach the customer when there'd be no one else in the shop or in a quiet corner of the shop and ask them to come in for a cup of coffee and just sit down with them and say, look, I'm not trying to insult you or I'm not trying to hurt you, but we just spot a few signs that maybe your gambling isn't the fun it's supposed to be. Have you considered this? We give them leaflets on the Dunlewy Centre, which provides a free phone number that's available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's 1-800-936-725, and that gets the person instantly to talk to a trained counsellor on the other end of the line. It's a confidential service, it's immediate, and the person can talk to that counsellor on the phone for as long as they want to, as many phone calls as they want to. But if they need more help or if they prefer face-to-face counselling, then that Dunlewy counsellor will set up counselling with somebody in their county that is managed by the Dunlewy Centre. They have counsellors in every county in the country, several counsellors in some county, and face-to-face sessions are set up for them for as long as they need it, and that is all free. There is no charge, there's no waiting time, there's no getting on a list. It's free, available and immediate.
For someone who maybe feels they're ready to do that. That's great, Sharon. And going back to online then.
Sorry to interrupt you, not just them, their family and friends as well. Because if there's somebody, with someone close to them that they love, that they can see that might have a problem, or, they suspect something's wrong, they don't know who to talk to, who to turn to, the Dunlewy Centre is there, 1-800-936-725.
Thanks for that, Sharon. Just going back to the online side of things, because, obviously with it being online, it mightn't be as easy to detect those signals that you mentioned earlier on. So these are some of the tools that are in place and available to help customers gamble responsibly.
Yes, and actually online, sometimes it's a little bit easier online to spot it, because you'll spot somebody, they might have won a bet, but they cancel their withdrawal because they want to bet it again, they want to spend it all. If somebody does that more than a couple of times, that could be maybe why isn't the person able to enjoy their money and withdraw it, or if you have somebody maybe depositing more regularly than the norm, or if they're coming online cancelling withdrawals or requesting free bets all of the time that they've no money. There are signals, there are words that operators are trained to pick up in live chats or to pick up in the activity of their account. If someone, for example, has set a deposit limit that they only want to deposit €50 in the week, and the customer comes back and says, I want to change that, I want to up it to 100, I want to up it to 150, that account would be flagged to watch out for any further requests like that, and say to the customer, maybe you should take a time out. And people say, bookies don't do that. I can assure you that is done, and it can be very difficult, that conversation with people, but it's becoming the norm now in the industry, and I think customers are starting to get used to it and realise that these measures are for their protection.
Sharon, very interesting, and thank you for sharing all that this morning on Dublin Talks. It's safergamblingweek.org if people would like more information, and 1-800-936-725 is that free phone number. Sharon Byrne, chairperson of the Irish Bookmakers Association, thank you so much for your time on Dublin Talks.
And you too, thank you.
So next up on Dublin Talks, I would like to speak to you. If gambling is something that has ever affected you or someone that you care about, get involved in the conversation. What were some of the red flags? What were some of the things that you noticed? Do you think something like Safer Gambling Week works? It's all about raising awareness about gambling safely, because look, gambling is something that people like to do. People like to make a bet. People like to enjoy the excitement of it, and for the most part it's something that can be enjoyed. It's something that people can do, and it's great fun, and it doesn't amount to anything else. But for others it can cause an awful lot of problems, and if that's something you can relate to today, I would like to hear from you. 0877 98 98 98. We have this voice note from Sam, who used to work in a bookies, and says it was a complete eye-opener.
In relation to your topic on gambling, I actually used to work in a well-known bookies, and it was an absolute eye-opener for me working there. I was never a huge gambler myself now or anything. Like, I would have done an odd bet around the Grand National time, or maybe done a few lotto numbers, that kind of thing. But I mean, I've seen people's lives being destroyed by gambling. I remember there was one particular man, he was a regular of ours, and when you work in a bookies, you're told never to refuse a bet unless it's from someone who's actually filled out an exclusion form, or from someone that's under 18. We couldn't refuse bets no matter how big the bet was. But this particular man, he was a regular of ours. He used to come into us every single day. He'd spend maybe 6-7 hours at a time in the bookies. And in the meantime, he had also opened up a new business in the town as well, a restaurant. Within a couple of months, everything just crashed for him. I mean, he lost everything. He was gambling serious amounts of money. He was obviously gambling the money from the business into the bookies. His restaurant was only open for maybe 4 months. And then we never seen him again after that either, where he lost everything. Like, he lost his job, his business, he lost any money he did have. He lost it all in the bookies. And it's very sad, like, to see somebody do that, you know what I mean? Like, to throw that amount of money at the bookies, like, when right well that at the end of the day, the bookies always win, you know what I mean? That's what they're there for. That's why they're in business. That's why they're, you know what I mean, making so much money, because they never lose. Yeah, it was an eye-opener for me now, and it turned me right off gambling. Like, the thoughts of even walking into a bookies nowadays, or even betting online or anything like that, it just sickens my stomach. Thanks, love the show, bye-bye.
Lovely to hear from you, Sam, and thanks for that. And yeah, I think it kind of hits home for people. I think if you've never set foot inside a bookies, you don't think about what it's like, and I don't think enough credit is given to the staff and just some of the situations that you might have to deal with. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sam, and if that's something that you can relate to, or maybe you've seen similar, get involved. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note, 0877 98 98 98. John is next on 98 FM. Hi, John.
How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you. John, we're talking about gambling today because it's Safer Gambling Week, and I know a lot of people maybe who have been affected negatively by gambling just feel, look, it's just something you just shouldn't do at all. But for a lot of people, it's a lot of fun and it's something that can be enjoyed. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are I find bookmakers in general are the most unscrupulous people on the planet. They don't care about your health and wealth, and they target people. They directly, if you look at bookies, most bookies are set beside a pub, which is getting people at their weakest when they've had a few drinks. They also subsidise televisions in pubs so that the racing is constantly shown. And then people are easily roped in by when a horse comes up with a name. It could be their grandson's name, it could be their mother's name, it could be a name. And all of a sudden, when they just went in for a pint, they find themselves betting on this horse or this dog because it contains that name. And then the other thing is they throw carrots at you like to a donkey. They say to you, if you bet such an amount, we'll give you such an amount free, and you have to sign up. They don't tell you on any of the paperwork or any of the legislation.
Yeah, but John,
sorry, one second. Once you sign up, you're doomed, because you will find it very difficult if you're withdrawing money from your banks to pay into your account. You'll find it very hard to get any kind of a loan, and a mortgage especially, because you'll be seen as a gambler and a bad debtor.
John, we're all responsible for ourselves. And people can go and place bets and enjoy gambling, and that's all it is. It's just a bit of fun, and it doesn't negatively affect their lives. But I don't know, and listen, I'm not trying to defend any particular betting agent, but like you heard Sam there earlier on, who worked in a bookies, she's just doing her job. Like, people have to be responsible for themselves, and if it's something that you can't handle, then that's something that maybe you need help with. It's not up to the betting agent. It's not up to Sam, who works in the bookies, to protect you from that. We're all adults.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about me personally. I'm talking I'm talking about when young, I see, like in bookies, younger kids are going in now, and they're being offered these free bets. But there's nothing free in this world, as you and I know. But the young kids see it as a free 50 quid, but they don't realise that 50 quid could cost them in the long term most of what they'll ever earn, because they become addicted. It's an addiction. That's the one thing that it's like people who take heroin. Nobody has forced it onto them. They've made their own decision, but and the problem with the gambling addiction is it's a quiet one. Nobody really knows when a gambler has lost all their money, whereas when people are drunk over it, you can see everything.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's an addiction that can go undetected for a lot longer.
And so when they're popping things into your email, £50 in free bets today if you add €20 to your account, it's free money for everybody. They're looking at the €30 they're getting free. They're soon going to lose this. And the other thing as well about the gambling is, if you go to, I know they're all closed down now, but if you go to a race course, live race courses, anywhere in Dublin or anywhere in Ireland, or dog racing anywhere in Ireland, you see kids as young as 7 or 8 years of age going and putting bets on the tote. And that's just roping them straight in. They all think it's a little bit of fun, and the parents, I blame the parents as well. But once they're into that, and especially if they start winning, they're addicted for life at that very young age of 8 years of age. You know what I mean?
All right, John, good to have you on Dublin Talks this morning. Thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you.
I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts and opinions on what John has to say. The bookies are the ones to blame, and the parents, according to John. What are your thoughts? You know, I feel like for a lot of people it can just be a lot of fun. Get involved in the conversation. 0877 98 98 98. After the break, we're going to speak to a listener who has had his entire life affected by a gambling addiction. You don't want to miss that. That's Dublin Talks.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
You're welcome back to Dublin Talks with Lauren Kelly today, in for Adrian, and a lot of messages coming through on gambling, particularly online gambling. So I want to hear your experiences. I'd like to hear from someone maybe who's had a family member or a loved one affected by a gambling addiction. 0877 98 98 98 is our WhatsApp number. You can send me a voice note. Lots of them coming in. But I mentioned before the break about our next caller, Mark. Now, we've changed his name and we've distorted his voice because he's been kind enough to come on and speak about his experience. Mark, you're very welcome to Dublin Talks this morning.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I know it's not an easy topic for you, Mark, but it's something that I suppose through Safer Gambling Week we're trying to raise a bit of awareness about and speak honestly about, just so as John mentioned earlier on, there's a lot of younger people just think gambling is fun and they don't realise how serious it can become. So tell us a bit about you and how gambling started for you.
Yeah, I started gambling when I was about 18, 19. Was just going to the local bookmakers before the pub and just doing an odd tenner bet on the first goal scorer or a football coupon with the lads. And it was, back then it was Irish pound, and it was easy enough to put the bet on and, go to the pub, enjoy if you won or you lost. But over a number of years, I noticed that my gambling had increased. I wasn't only going in to do the football coupon with the lads. I was either sticking on a dog bet or a horse racing bet, and it continued. When I got a job, then I noticed that lunch times in my job, I would constantly try and get to the bookmakers for lunchtime and kind of have a packet of crisps and a can of Coke or something like that, and just bet my lunchtime. And I'd always sometimes be late back from lunch, and they'd ask you where you were, and you'd kind of make up excuses, and so the lies and all start happening then. Over a number of years then, from 19 to 25, my gambling did increase. My bet frequencies increased. I could be having 100 to 150 bets a day because I'd be betting during lunch, during breaks, running out to do shop errands, making up excuses why I'm late home because I'm in the bookmakers. And then when I got paid, if I lost, I'd make up excuses the wages didn't go into my account. And I started lying to my parents why the money wasn't there. And then I'd be borrowing off Peter to pay Paul, basically. For a number of years, it just, it took the grips of me. My life was unmanageable. And then I found a girl, and we got together, and over time I started taking her money. And then we moved into a house, and I promised all my parents that I'd stop gambling. But within a year, I was gambling again, and I was basically gambling the mortgage away. Until a letter came in from the mortgage, basically saying that we needed to come and see them. That if we didn't go and see them, we were out the door. And that was the first time my partner found out about it. That we were in arrears, and it destroyed her at the time. That was about 7 years ago. It destroyed her at the time. That she wasn't aware how bad I was. I was getting loans out of banks, and I had crippled loans going through. But we met the mortgage advisor, and they gave us another chance. And I went back. I started doing GA, and I was doing a consistent amount of meetings in GA back then. And I had nearly 3.5 years free of gambling, and unfortunately, my father passed away, and I started taking drugs and I started drinking, and that led to gambling. It lasted for about 2.5 years of continual gambling, maxing out credit cards, taking loans out of problems, but getting money off other people. I'd be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be gambling at night time. And I don't know what that one was talking about with the Bookers Association. I could be having 150 to 200 bets within 3 hours. And nobody contacted me back then. And it was just a constant frequency of, could be backing on Australian racing or virtual racing. And it all came to a head back at the start of the year when I said I couldn't do it anymore. The manipulation and the lies that I caused. My family were in bits over it. But all I asked for back then was support, and they didn't really want anything else. Mm-hmm. I went into recovery. I went in a recovery room for 5 weeks in residential, and it was the best thing I ever done. I got everything out on the open. I was 100% honest when I went into the recovery rooms. And I'm I'm 8-9 months free now of having a bet, but my life's only starting now. My head's not running around like a washing machine. I'm not worrying about who's going to knock at the door. I'm not running home for the post. Well, because we're in COVID, we're home. We're not running home to get the post before my partner comes in. And I don't have to worry about withheld numbers because everything's in the open, you know, and it gets the grips to you, and you just don't know when to stop. And as it's been noted already, you know if someone was drinking, you know if someone was taking drugs, but you don't know if somebody has been gambling, because we can manipulate and lie, and we can turn things as quick as anything else, you know. Today, you know, I'm in recovery. I do a lot of Zoom meetings. You know, all my friends, I've lost a number of friends due to my gambling because of my lies, that I wouldn't be going gambling, I'd be spending the money instead. I'd make up I'm sick. But I've got the friends I need back, you know, and my support is my fellowship, and that's where I came from, you know, like to end up in a rehab centre. No, I didn't think I'd end up in a rehab centre, but unfortunately my life became unmanageable. I became powerless over what I was doing because I had the grips of me. I had that illness.
I want to ask you about that, Mark, because I'm just sitting here listening to you. Like, I'm sure so many people are just gripped by your story and very, very much in awe of your bravery for coming on and telling your story, because like you said, so much hurt and so much pain has been caused by this. But there's going to be people listening to this that think that would never happen to me. What would you say to them?
Look, I have a number of friends that can go to the bookmakers and put the one bet on and walk out of the bookmakers. There is people that will just go in and they be enticed by the adrenaline rush, and they just basically it's just in awe. If you walk into the bookmakers, you're just in awe. You're on your own. It's like an escapism. You're basically in there, you're betting, and then all of a sudden then you want to keep betting, so you borrow money, and then when you borrow money, you lose that, you start getting loans out. And before you know it has the grips of you, and you just don't know what way to get out. And instead of opening up and speaking to family members and speaking to people around you, you go and get yourself in more trouble. And that's where the depression comes in, the mental health comes in, the suicidal thoughts come in. You know, at the moment I don't think there's enough publication of what's going on with gamblers, and it's great, like you can say Safer Gambling Week. You cannot have a Safer Gambling Week for a gambler, you know, especially a compulsive gambler. There's no such thing, you know. They did mention the Louis addiction team, which I actually visited back in March, and they were great help for me, you know, and I didn't know it was available because I was paying back 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I was paying for counselling, you know, and if I knew that I could have failed a free counselling addiction, I don't know what would have happened back then, you know.
I want to call out their number again, actually, just while you mention it. It's 1800 936 725. And thanks for saying that, Mark, because there is help available, and you know, it's so fascinating hearing your story, and just, you know, that you can come through the other side. I would imagine, and of course this is your own business and I'm not asking you to get into it, but I would imagine there was a lot more stuff that came out, as you mentioned, like drink and drugs became an issue as well. So there might be underlying issues that people don't realise are there as well when they get into gambling.
Yes, definitely. Like, I was bullied as a young lad for nearly 10 months, and I ended up having to put the 2 people that were doing it, put them in hospital. That nearly gave me suspension from school. I just had enough, you know, back then. And, you know, when I was growing up, my father wasn't really present due to the fact that he was working all the time. And I became the man of the house, and I looked after everybody.
So that's all going through your head, and all those things. And, you know, and that's maybe why, as you said, like some of your mates can go into a betting shop, place the €1 bet and leave again. For you, it wasn't the case. Mark, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to cut you short because we're just so tight on time. But I want to say a massive thank you to you for coming on Dublin Talks today.
Yeah, no problem, Lauren.
Thank you so much. Good to have you. And I think anyone listening to that will take a lot from Mark's story, and just, as he said, how it got a grip on him. But I just want to, before we have to wrap up, get through a few of the voice notes that are coming through to Dublin Talks this morning. This one is shocking, from Stephen.
My father went into the bookies one day about 6 months ago, completely intoxicated, and he spent $5,000 on one dog bet from his card. And the bookmaker took the bet. The person behind the counter took the bet, because there's no rules there to say you can't serve someone who's completely intoxicated, which is bonkers.
Wow, Stephen, and something, and as Mark rightly said, we need more awareness around it. I don't know why it is. It feels like we don't take it as seriously as other addictions. And Anne has been in touch on 0877 98 98 98. Her dad's a gambler.
Hi Lauren, love the show. My dad actually is, I don't want to say a recovering gambler, but a gambler in itself. He bet for as long as I've been alive, or as long as I remember. Blew all of his life savings, my mum's life savings, our communion money, confirmation money, any type of money you can think of, always went to the bookies. It obviously impacted us, myself, my brother and my sister. Growing up as kids and stuff, we'd always kind of, as kids would want like toys or extra things or blah blah blah, but we could never afford it because he'd always go to the bookies and bet it all. So it obviously has a huge impact on people's lives and etc. And then I obviously, which is ironic, I actually worked in a bookmaker, as a very well known one, for 8 years. Like the girl Sam was saying, I totally get it. Like we're trained to kind of spot things and stuff like that, and I've seen the best of the best and I've seen the worst of the worst. I've seen your nicest customers turn into the worst customers in a split second. I've seen families break up. I've seen wives come in and hand their husbands their divorce papers. I've had customers try to rob me because they've run out of money, so they try and rob it back off you by putting their hand over the counter, or they try pull you forward or stuff like that. So it isn't an addiction in itself, it's just the way it happens. But yeah, love the show.
Thanks for that, Anne, and thank you so much for everyone who's been getting in touch on all the topics today. Great to have you. But going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, bang out of time. Barry Dunn is up next. Here's a little snippet of what you can look forward to.
Passionate from miles away. I'll be singing